Guess I co-sign one day I'll be the greatest. First I gotta make it. I'm on my shit. Give me the throne and the crown. Trust me, I will never lay it down. Nah, you don't like me, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. MC and rap till I die.
It's time! Y'all know what time it is. A little bit later, start than normal, but you know, better late than never. It's time to say what you feel. We got a special guest, well, a different kind of special guest today. You can take that how you want to. And we got our normal co-host. I'm going to let both of them introduce themselves. I'm going to start with the normal co-host first. Gene, tell them who you are. Tell them where to find you. And Gene, I think we got some technical difficulties. I think you might have I think your mic might be muted, Gene.
Okay, how about now? You good? Am I good?
There we go.
All right. This is Super Heavyweight. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight on Twitter. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I talk sports. I talk real life. I talk about everything. Just hit me up, and I'll definitely follow you back.
And our other guest, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead and introduce yourself, other guest. That's all I'm going to call you today is other guest.
Well, my name is Charles Threet Sr., and I don't have a Twitter account, but you can find me going different places throughout the city on open mics, doing poetry and whatever. You can Google me, and you will see that I have several books out. But I'm just me.
All right, so and I'm going to introduce myself for the three of us in attendance and the potential millions watching across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the most dominating debater of all time has come back to your cell phone screen, your TV screen, your Xbox One, hopefully not your PS4, but I'll be there too. And we know that I am the greatest debater. And at the end of the day, both of my co-hosts will agree with me when I say that I'm awesome. So, it's the weekend, holiday weekend. How y'all feeling today? How y'all feeling about this weekend? Long weekend for everybody.
You know what? It really don't mean a whole lot to me. My ancestors were enslaved when everybody was talking about independence. And secondly, independence is July 2nd, actually. Nothing happened on the 4th. So there's that.
I mean, we could account for all the leap years and stuff. It's just a day off. I don't care really about what the celebration's about.
But I'm just saying, it is what it is.
Man, here we go with this. This is going to be a good show. I'm telling everybody right now, this show is going to be interesting because got some clips. I got a suggestion from the co-host of a topic that we're going to talk about today. Gene, I think it's going to be one you got a lot to say about because I know we all about to bump heads on this. So, but first things first, I want everybody to know that Designer's new song, Timmy Turner, is going to be the hottest thing on the radio in about 6 months. Just be prepared to have your mind melted. I will play a clip, but I ain't trying to get in trouble by the peoples or the powers that be. Another thing I wanted to bring up in celebrity news is I don't understand why when you get a lot of money, your mind just stop working. I don't understand because there's this guy out there named Nick Young that I want to bring up. And Nick Young got a lot of money, but I think he completely lost his mind in the process.
And he's a horrible basketball player.
But he's a really popular one, which I never understood that either. I mean, don't you at least gotta like win before you can get a nickname? Like, how do you come into the league with the nickname Swaggy P? And what do Swaggy P even mean?
There's no
Your name is Nick Young. I was trying to figure that out too. There's no, I don't know. I don't understand how he got this name, but he got it. He taking it, and he can keep it. But Nick Young, we all heard. First, I heard that he got his first baby mom pregnant again. Like, how do you do that? Why you with somebody? Why you engaged? How do you go back and get your first baby mom's pregnant, and then you get caught?
What you gotta, and while you're on that point right there, you gotta rewind back to how the woman that he was with at the time that he was cheating how he got with her, because I do believe that he cheated on her while he was with his baby mom. I'm not sure about that, but I think that could have something to do with it.
If you cheat on somebody and then cheat on that person with the person you was first cheating on, is that cheating? That's a confusing situation. Because technically you was still with the first person first before you cheated. So when you cheated, you technically wasn't cheating because you were supposed to be with that first person in the first place, right?
If you're with more than one person, you're cheating. Period. I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from experience. I admit that I was very promiscuous in my youth. I admit that I didn't have a conscience and think about the other person until I got cheated on, and then the whole world fell apart then. But you should be a man, and you should make decisions as to who you're going to spend your life with and who you're not, and be honest. You know, if you just want a woman and she's just going to be the hit for the week, let her know.
So if you tell her that, is it cheating?
Well, then your conscience at least won't eat you up. With me, my conscience would eat me up if I'm lying to a person and I'm using them to a certain extent. But yeah, it's still cheating if I'm with somebody else. Am I going to tell the person that I'm with that I'm cheating on her, that I'm going with this other person? Am I telling her? You know. No, I'm not going to tell her.
If all parties know about it, it's a totally different situation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to at least tell the woman. Like, an example, I'm with this woman. I'm with woman A. And I want to cheat with woman B. Now, if I tell woman A that I'm going to cheat with woman B, and if I tell woman B that I have a woman A, then everything's fine. But 90% of the young people that I know of that are cheating don't do that.
I think that cheating is what, and when you got that kind of money, you got a pick of the litter where you shouldn't have to cheat no more. Nick Young is one of the biggest idiots I ever know, and I don't know him, but I feel like I do because I hear about this dude every day, and I think that he actually owes D'Angelo Russell an apology because he's gotten caught so many times since then that he cannot be no longer mad at D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell tried to do him a favor because he got a second chance after that, and he messed up 2 more times. So I don't think he has a legitimate right to be mad at D'Angelo Russell. I apologize to you, D'Angelo Russell, because I did kind of feel like you broke the code when you did what you did. But you know what? Nick Young, you deserved everything you got. D'Angelo, you had nothing wrong. And go get your phone out the water because I seen the commercial. But earlier today when I was speaking about it, my father tried to say that's a young person's thing. And I totally disagree with that. I think that the only reason that his generation would say it's a young person's thing is because they don't have the ability to do it anymore. And that's why they call it a young person's thing, because they wish they could. It's probably a thing of jealousy.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute. What you mean by that?
Let me jump in here just for a second. Charles, you are so far off base, man. I'm going to have to buy you a compass, okay? There's right and there's wrong, okay? End of story. What your dad is saying is correct, and that's the only way that you should look at it. If you're not communicating with both parties, then it's wrong, all right? If somebody
I don't even know how you could even think that
if one party doesn't know, it's wrong, okay?
I agree 100%. I agree with that. There's right and there's wrong, and cheating is wrong, even if you do tell both people, because even if the girl that you would say is cool at that moment, I guarantee you 2 weeks from then you're going to be hearing about it. So don't fall into that trap.
No, I disagree with that. You know, it just depends on the person. But, you know, like
that's a strange situation.
And I wouldn't say anything about if you're young and inexperienced and immature, you're going to do things like that. I mean, I'm not saying everybody. I'm not making excuses, but when you're young and you don't know your way, and some people they're finding their way, and that's that happens. But just like your dad said, he had gone through some things and he found his way, and look at him now.
Yeah, he tried to do better. I could attest to that. He tries to do better. I think everybody goes through that phase where they just need to do better. And I guess I can agree that it's a youth thing because even my own mentality, even though I do consider myself an old man, even my own mentality has changed over recent years. So I can agree with that. I agree with that. But moving
You found the
on,
right woman.
yeah, I agree. Like I said, the only people that can tell me what to do is my mama and my girl, and that's only because I respect and love them both. When other people try to tell me that, I have an issue with that. But moving on in news, so I know a lot of our viewers may or may not have seen Jesse Williams' powerful speech at the BET Awards. I didn't think that the brother said nothing wrong. I actually felt like I wanted to go out and and join this movement and become a part of it after his words, because he said a lot of things that made a lot of sense. And the thing that he said that stood out the most to me was that he told everyone to step down. If you ain't got nothing to do with it, don't say nothing about it. And I agree with that statement.
Amen.
But it seems that some people out there didn't agree. Now, I can understand people not of color agreeing with him, not agreeing with him. It's kind of expected. You kind of know that certain people are going to take this moment to as an advantage. But the person, you know what? I'm just gonna play a little clip here. I'm just gonna play a clip.
Stacey Dash slams Jesse Williams after he delivered a powerful speech at the 2016 BET Awards.
If you have no interest in equal rights for black people, then do not make suggestions to those who do. Sit down.
Well, Stacey is not sitting out for this conversation.
That is not who I am.
The outspoken actress pinned a post on her blog Wednesday calling the entire BET network racist and the Grey's Anatomy star's acceptance speech an attack on white people.
Burying black people out of sight and out of mind while extracting our culture, our dollars, our entertainment like oil, black gold, ghettoizing and demeaning our creations, then stealing them, gentrifying our genius, and then trying us on like costumes before discarding our bodies like rinds of strange fruit.
The 49-year-old took her insults a step further, calling the actor, quote, the perfect example of a Hollywood plantation slave. Sorry, Mr. Williams, but the fact that you were standing on that stage at those awards tells people you really don't know what you're talking about, just spewing hate and anger.
Now, how y'all feel about that? What? Now, Stacey Dash is not your typical, doesn't look like the typical person that can say some stuff like that. She shouldn't be saying those things.
Yes, she does. Because there were a lot of times that the house nigger, which was light in complexion, did get the chance to stand up and talk down on the other slaves. And didn't fully understand what the other slaves were going through. You know, I wasn't a slave, but I came up in a time where when I was in the kindergarten, and this is a fact, I wet my clothes because my white counterparts were going to the bathroom, and I didn't see a second bathroom for black people to go in, and so I sat there and wet my clothes rather than go in that white bathroom. Because of the times that I came up, you had white and you had black bathrooms. You had white.
Well, Stacey Dash not that old though.
Well, Stacey Dash is what, 14 years younger than me. So no, maybe she
didn't never live that life.
She didn't, probably didn't. You know, I came up. My parents were poor. Young. I didn't know what poor was because everybody around me was poor. But I think that he said some powerful things that needed to be said. But I'm a radical. I've been a radical all my life. When I was 16 years old, I organized a walkout to protest against the Vietnam War, and at John Adams High School. And over 90% of the people that walked out came back to class when the walkout was officially over. And they said that was the most people that ever came back to any school in the history of a school in Cleveland. And
Charles Sr., I have to ask you this. with that speech, if you go all the way back to the 60s, have we had any kind of leadership that has decided to voice their opinion in this manner between civil rights and where we are right now? Have we seen anything remotely close to that in that gap of time?
Well, no, because, and it's a lot of reasons. One is money. There are a lot of blacks that know if they're too outspoken, they're going to get cut off for money. They're going to get ostracized. Two is a life and death. I remember when I worked for a major chemical company, and I was offered a job, and I went down to see about the job, and they told me I was the top candidate for the job. But when I got there, they had a note at the hotel telling me not to go out to the job site alone and not to go out at night. The next morning, I found out that it was Appalachians. A lot of them had never seen a black person, and this was in 1999. Now, this wasn't the 60s. This was in 1999, and that my life would be in danger if I was to go out there. And I have a white blonde friend, very attractive, that was wanting to come down and visit me if I got the job down there. And I found out about the Saltville Massacre. I found out a lot of things when I was there. I didn't know about the Saltville Massacre. I know a lot of people don't know about the Saltville Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, yeah. and then, you know, there's so many different things that we don't know that are right in front of us. You know, the Tulsa riot.
Well, I think
you know,
that stuff could never happen again. That could never. Those things could never happen again.
Oh, yes, it could. Oh, yes.
Not and be hidden.
Rosewood and
not the way it's hidden. It couldn't be done like that with the social media the way it is and how fast news travels. Thankfully, I don't think nothing like that could be done. I think that the reason that the world seems so bad now is because of the access to social media that we have and the reasons that and how fast news travels, the information age, and how fast technology goes from one place to another.
I really don't think there's a whole lot of difference in the 60s and 2016.
That's what I definitely...
Instead of blacks being taken out and lynched, they're shot.
It ain't the same thing.
Instead of them being slaves, they're incarcerated. And then while you're incarcerated, you work for a lot of major companies. A lot of major companies get work that would normally cost them $16, $18, $20 an hour. They're getting it for $3-4 an hour because that's what you're paid. That's good money when you're incarcerated. And I know because I was incarcerated.
But and even on that point, how many? I don't think it's too many black people in jail. I know there is some. Don't get me wrong. No, wait. Let me finish my thought. It's not too many black people in jail that absolutely did nothing to be there. Now, they might have gotten longer sentences for things that they did, but as far as did absolutely nothing and ended up in jail, I would say there's probably more black people shot than that's in jail for doing absolutely nothing. Now, people might sit here and try to rationalize, well, it was his first time, or he had less than an ounce. You know what I mean? But at the same time,
but you got to consider the legislation that's put in place just so that people can get incarcerated.
I agree, and that's unfair. I know a lot of these, a lot of the punishments to crimes are focused on African Americans and urban youth and urban inhabitants. So yes, I do agree with that, and I do think that is true. But I brought this up last week that with crack and cocaine in the 70s, you got a 7 times stiffer penalty for crack than cocaine. But if you didn't have no crack, you didn't get no penalty. So I don't know if I can 100% go down the road and say.
Let me cut in on that now. For one, the major companies needed a workforce. And what greater force to tap into than the prisons? Since you couldn't have legal slavery, the prisons were tapped into. But now you didn't have a lot of people in prison. So what happens? Well, let's pass some legislation that if you're caught with crack cocaine, if you're caught with this, if you're caught with that, you're going to go to jail for X amount of years. Then the CIA and FBI come in, and they put the crack cocaine in the black neighborhoods. so that the
you still
black
got a
people
choice to
would-
use it or not.
Wait a minute. And then they also sit back and they'll even back in the day they take a pimp, and they made the movie Pimp. They made the movie not Godfather,
Mac.
the Mac. They went out and they would blow up. Okay, this is what you're supposed to look like. These are the things you're supposed to do. And then they put the crack and stuff in their hands. Black
You
women.
still got a choice.
Well, it depends.
Charles, we can go even
depends.
further back. We can go back to the end of slavery and going into the 1900s, where black men were arrested for vagrancy because they couldn't find jobs, and the judicial system was set up to where major corporations were getting these men and putting them in these mines and making them work. They didn't do anything, but the only crime they committed was being jobless. And there were thousands and
That
thousands
was a
of
long
cases
time
of that.
ago.
No, but I'm saying it's the same philosophy. Basically, they've gotten smarter with it, and they're still doing this. It's the same thing today that you saw all the way back to the 1800s going into the turn of the century. Same thing, but they've gotten better with the legislation to where, look, a nonviolent offender is in jail for, what, double-digit years? That's crazy.
Yeah, but they still
how many
The penal
blacks?
system. Go ahead.
How many blacks graduated and are medical doctors now? How many blacks are lawyers now? You don't know.
It's a few.
You don't know.
It's a few though. I've seen them.
Hit that, but they don't hit it on Facebook and all this other media like they do if somebody goes to jail. If somebody.
But watch this though. Yeah, but that's just the media. The media, because Happy News don't put
public opinion.
viewers.
You got to remember that
Happy News don't get viewers.
Martin Luther King's whole life was dedicated to public opinion. He didn't fight things in the courts. Thurgood Marshall did.
I agree.
Muhammad
It's all
Ali.
about public opinion. And so now, what's public opinion saying about the black man? It doesn't.
I think the public opinion of black people has actually gotten better in recent years.
To who?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. When you was a kid, how many black doctors and lawyers did you meet?
It was a few.
It was segregated. You had to have black doctors and lawyers.
And black
Okay.
hospitals.
It
Right,
was segregated.
okay.
That was a
In Cleveland.
necessity. That was a necessity.
Right.
Okay, so do you see more today?
On TV, maybe.
Oh, come on,
I'm
Dad.
gonna say yes. I'm gonna say
Oh,
yes.
I know a
There's
few.
more
I
to
know
that.
Dr. Charles
I'm gonna
Motlin.
say yes to that.
I know Dr. Charles Motlin, who's the head of urology over in Cleveland Clinic. He's black. And most of the people that had work on me under him were black. Yes.
There's more
I'm gonna
today.
say
There's
yes.
more
Used
today.
They used to, because black now can go to Cleveland Clinic because the insurance companies are paying big money. And so they allow
insurance
us to
companies
go to
care?
any. Pardon?
Do you think insurance companies care if you black or white?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent.
When you turn 65, you get the same Medicaid somebody else got. No matter what color you is. And that's why I think that when in the last 50, 60 years, like you just said, as far as race relations in the United States especially, now I'm 31 years old and I know it's even different from when I was a kid. I do feel, now I'm not by no means saying that there's any kind of equality. I know that's not true. But I do think it's better. I think there has been steps in the right direction, and it's evident. Obama. That's always going to be a
and
first
Obama
example.
is what? He's the most fought against president ever. 10 times. 10 times as many.
The most disrespected president ever.
And when at the end of a long day, and this I can tell you, one of the professors at Glendale Community College, by all outside appearances, looks white. He's black. And he will attest to the fact that he would go into certain meetings and this, that, and the other, and behind closed doors, the top black person was still a nigga.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't say that was I didn't say that was is different or no.
I think people's projection has changed, but their thinking is still the same.
And Charles, going back to because you talk about how things have gotten better. I'm curious to hear what your idea of that is.
Well, I feel like that the initial he's black thought or they're black or don't deal with them. The thought process of those prejudiced people is still there, but I feel like even unless the most far radically KKK Klansmen people are a lot more open now. Like I know when I first got into sales when I was younger, which would have been 15 years ago now, that if someone was racist, they was racist. They didn't even give me the time of the day. Whereas in today's world, you can kind of get the hint that someone may not like or may not have a great impression of black people, but they do let you talk. You do talk to them, and you do have the opportunity where they are slightly more open-minded and given those opportunities. I don't think it's as hard for a black person to get a decent job today as it was 50, 60 years ago. I think there's a lot more jobs that look at your credentials before looking at your color. Now, there are some that still look at color. I think once you get to a certain level in the pyramid, then yes, color starts mattering. Once you get maybe to VP, CEO, things of that nature. But management, district management, regional management, things of that nature, I don't think color plays nowhere near as big of a part as it used to 60 years ago. Public opinion.
Are you talking about?
Well, you said 60 years.
You're saying 15 years ago.
No, I said 60.
What about 17 years ago? Is that too long?
No, I said 60 years.
Well, 17 years ago, I got my first, my second pay raise from this boss that I had. I was a first line supervisor, and I was supposedly the #1 supervisor. I was highly sought, and I actually loved my job. I didn't just like it; I loved it. Well, after we got our pay raises by him giving us an envelope, shaking our hand, and then I go back down to my office, open the envelope, and see how much pay raise I had. I looked at mine and said, whoa, they gave me almost $600 a month pay raise. They really appreciate me. And then I kept reading it, and I found out it wasn't mine. It was another guy's. It was a white guy's, and found out that he was getting paid $500 more a month. Now, I was first in production, first in safety, first in attendance, first in training. I wrote the best reports. I was the best orator. He couldn't even speak. You didn't know whether he was saying or R, because he always had a mouthful of chew. And you know exactly who I'm talking about.
He didn't sound that smart to me either. I know. I used to hate calling work.
And he got paid $500. And so I went upstairs and approached my boss and asked him, what does he do to justify $500 more a month? And he just basically he told me, that's just the way it is.
Okay, and I agree.
And that was only 17
even looking, and I can say that, and that's what I said. I do see progression over the last 15 years. I was actually agreeing, and with that being said, I don't think things like that. It might have been a $200 more raise month, not in today's world. That's what I meant. The progression's there, but it's not where you want it to be. It's not where it's equal. It's not equality at all. We still get shot at questions.
That's a lot of money. That's $6,000. That's $6,000 a year, and the average worker back then would put in 30 years. That's $180,000 he's able to give his family that I couldn't give mine.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with that. That's when I say the equality is not there. But I even think looking at your own situation. And I remember your workforce. I don't remember another black supervisor at your job. I'm sure there was some sprinkled throughout the company, and it was a big company. But I don't remember another black one that you've ever spoken of either. So, and that's what I go back and say, the opportunities. 30 years prior to, you may have never had that opportunity. What I would believe, so that puts you around that 50-year mark. I don't think that opportunity would even existed for you in the first place. And that's why I say that I do see progression.
This new company test. They had this new company-wide test that they gave people to see. It would determine whether or not they were good supervisors or not. And I took the test, and from what I was told, I was in the top 2%, maybe 1% in the nation that took that test. That's the only reason I became a supervisor, because they couldn't justify not promoting me with the score that I had on that test.
But what I'm saying is, trust me, looking at the history of African Americans, if they really didn't want to promote you, they would have found a day you was late to work or called off and used it as a scapegoat to not promoting you. I think that's what I'm saying, that the opportunities today are much better. And that's why I always say, Jen, you already know what I'm about to say. I could not live in any other country in any other time period than the one I'm in now because of that. I couldn't live back when every day. Now, I do sometimes get the feeling that I'm oppressed and I would be farther off if I was the same person with the same mind that I have and I was white. I do think that. I think I would have been a millionaire years ago. But I don't think that I'm nowhere near as oppressed as either you two were growing up. I think that the times changed a lot. And one reason I think for that is that, and it's something that Jesse Williams spoke to, is when you two were growing up, the white people were still white people. Like, they did white people things. They listened to white people music. There was you had your exceptions to the rule, like the Temptations or Marvin Gaye. There was some, and that was even later for you, Dad. That was even later in your life. But in today's world, the standard is the hip hop culture. So there has to be some acceptance there. And some of those people who grew up with the hip hop culture are those CEOs now, and they don't have that same prejudices that the CEOs of yesteryear have. And that's one of the reasons I think that the workplace is improving.
I'm going to disagree with that. It's all about money.
There you go. Exactly what I was
going to say.
Money.
And basically, you can have somebody, like you look at Young Thug wearing his skirt or whatever he's doing, and you've got these people behind him basically feminizing this man, and this is the guy they're promoting. This is what they're promoting. This is what they want everybody to see. That's just one example. And I don't care what race they are. If you can make them some money, that's all they're concerned about. They don't respect you or anybody else. And we've seen case after case of that, where musicians, athletes, and on down the line are taken advantage of. All these people want is money, because that's all they are, is an investment, whether it's temporary or long term.
And I agree. I can agree with that statement. But what I'm saying is, and it's a sad difference, that maybe you may call it a sad difference, but what I'm saying is the difference is now, 60 years ago, I don't even think they cared if you could make them money if you were of color. I don't think that was something they even cared about. Where now they actually do. They care now. Today they care.
They started
to care. Not like today.
They've always cared if you can make a money. That's what slaves were for. Slaves made them money. They've always cared if you were black and if you could make money or not. And they have
what I meant.
The baritone bass singers
are gone.
It's gone. These are the high falsetto type singers. They feminized the black male as it is, but it's making money. So nobody seems to care.
Bryson Tiller don't sing.
But I said, but they're always going to have an exception or two. Jaheim, yeah, but they're of a few. But back in my day, all the singers were just about bass baritone singers.
Right, and I agree.
Smokey Robinson types, and Eddie Kendricks, but they were the few.
Right.
And I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, you brought up slavery. Slavery wasn't given to receive. It was just receive. Whereas in today's, look at sports. If we go through the list of major sports and we look at contracts, most of the if we look at the top 5% biggest contracts, we already know most of those is African Americans. Now, granted, they're making those owners a lot of money. They're making those organizations a lot of money. But, they're talking about LeBron making $205 million.
You answered your own question.
But,
because what you're talking about, You look at what a billionaire is making versus what a millionaire is making.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Agreed. But I'm saying the change is before they would rather sacrifice their own money to not see a black person do well. They didn't want to see black people do well. Where now they don't really. They're like, you know what? You could do well. I'm gonna do better, but you could do well too. And that's change. It's slow. It's not right.
Because they realize how much money they can make off of doing this. Come on. Really?
Exactly. But it's change. It's change. And then another thing is the old school is dying out. The what's the dude from the Clippers name? The old ex-owner of the Clippers.
Charles, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this before you go any further. How many black owners do you know in any sports? I'm talking football, basketball, baseball, hockey.
A very, very low number that I can't think of. No majority. I think it's a minority.
I mean, you should be able to say
I know one.
Okay,
Jordan.
Now, Jordan's a part owner. He's not a full owner.
I think he's a majority. He may be. I'm not sure.
And this is my point. You talk about how much things have progressed, but to me, it looks like they stayed the same. Probably, with the exception of that one person, the landscape of ownership in sports, it looks the same now as it did back in the 60s.
I could agree with that, and that's what I said. I said when you go up the pyramid to a certain point, there's opportunity. At one point, once you get to that CEO, SVP,
there's a glass ceiling.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, there is a glass ceiling.
So then we really haven't progressed then.
Well, I'm saying there's a glass ceiling, but the ceiling has risen. Does that make sense? I think the glass ceiling is a little bit higher today than it was.
No, I think they just keep it cleaner.
I think it's a little bit higher.
And the bottom line, Charles, racism hasn't gone away. It's adapted. That's the only difference.
Exactly. I can even agree with that it's adapted, but it's different. It's not as blatant as it was 60 years ago. I've never, maybe once I could think of when I was a kid. I remember something happening once when I was young, very young, but I've never had anyone call me nigger derogatorily to me. I've never experienced that.
I moved some furniture behind that. Trust me. A couple.
You know what I mean? I've never, and that's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying times is changing a little bit because
no, you guys have been a lot more accepting. If you remember right, you had a friend of, I think, Iranian descent, something like that. That you would come over to the house and was saying my nigga this and my nigga that, which was a word I don't even allow in my house. And I was saying, why are y'all allowing this guy to say that? Oh, he's all right. No, he's not all right.
But what I'm saying is, and that's not even going to what I'm saying. I'm saying is the person didn't say it to me with ill intent. I'm sure you've had someone say it to you.
Oh, you can
negatively on purpose
and know for a fact that there was no ill intent.
Yeah, I could. For him, that specific person we talking about, yeah, there was no ill intent. He considers himself one of us. He considers himself one of the oppressed, and he is. I mean, he might be right now. He might be more oppressed than us because he is of Arabic
Muslim
descent.
Muslim.
So there's a good chance he might be more oppressed than us, and that's why we don't have any reason to say something to him because he's struggling the same struggle we struggling, and right now his struggle might even be a little bit more realer than ours. So
people calling him a Muslim. Does it affect you?
What do you mean?
He has no right. He has no right to call you a nigger under any circumstance.
I disagree.
And he stopped. He stopped saying that in my presence.
Out of respect for you, he stopped in your presence. But I don't think there was never no ill intentions of him saying the word. I don't think he was saying the word with no ill meaning. He's not. I don't think he's racist. I
don't think he gets a rite of passage. I don't think anybody. In fact, I don't really like black people calling themselves that. So I mean, because it's affected me in so many ways over my life. And
you know what? I want to play one more clip real quick because it actually goes and plays with that Exactly, and it's something I didn't agree with when I first seen the clip. I want to get your opinion on it. Hold on one sec.
Is it 20 times in every song?
Yeah, for sure.
So I wanted to know what your thoughts are on that, and like whether you think it's a word that's become obsolete, or whether you think that there are negative consequences on the fact that it's so widely used.
I do, I very much do. I used to be someone who used the word all the time, as some of you may or may not know. I came to a stage in my life where one of my elders said to me, "You're better than that." And I started reading a bit more. I started studying the history of the word. I started looking at the brutality that had been underpinned by this word. Let me be clear, I'm not against people using the word. I'm just against the stupid idea that it's now become a term of endearment. It hasn't. It has so much blood attached to it. For me, it means what it's always meant. It is a term of white supremacist genocide. It is a word that says African people are not human. It was a way of reducing people to subhuman status, which led to, as I've said to you, people being put in zoos or public lynchings in America, where someone could literally be barbecued in public, and people thought it was perfectly acceptable to bring their child, give their child the day of school to come and watch a person be barbecued in public. Rail systems would operate special lynching day rail cards. After the lynching, there'd be postcards with the dead person on front of it. They'd send out as souvenirs. So this is the history behind that word. If we look at early hip-hop, when hip-hop was a bit more independent, when hip-hop was owned a bit more by the black community, we see that hip-hop was completely offensive to everyone. People would say.
Did y'all agree?
Oh yeah, I told you. I think that it's the most derogatory word in the world.
Well, what I thought was two things. Oh, go ahead, Jen. I want to hear your opinions before I get y'all mine. Go ahead.
I'm kind of like I'm with your dad. That word is very offensive. I used to use it all the time, and just educating Mike, like the man said, when you educate yourself and you see all the blood that's attached to that word, going way back to when, going back to Portugal, where slaves were rounded up and they were shipped out. I mean, this word has had negative connotations for a long time. And, it's just weird that before the word was very offensive, and for black folks to take the word and make it their own and then try to use it. I mean, I don't want something. If somebody handed me, they gave me money that was blood money, I would have a hard time accepting that, knowing where it came from. So it would be along the same lines as that word. After educating myself, it's just a word that I can use it if I wanted to, but I don't feel comfortable using the word. That's just me personally.
So when I heard him, the first thing I heard that he stuck on is he said, "I don't have a problem with people using the word." So I don't know how you give that speech with your opening statement being that statement. On top of that,
because you can't.
The whole empowerment thing. I think that when you take power away from the word, which I do believe is what's been done with the word, the power has been taken away by us calling each other that as a symbol of respect and love.
Endearment.
When you say, yo, this dude looked out, man. He that's my nigga right there. Like, I think that you strip the word's power from it, because you're saying it in a way of brotherly love, and it's something that black people have as a culture that can't be taken away, and it's probably never going to go away. And by stripping it of the power, I don't think that it hurts by saying that to each other at all. Now, do I have a issue with some other races saying it? If you're saying it just to be cool, yeah, I got an issue with it. You can kind of tell when somebody say the word, if they saying it to push the boundaries, or if they really say it and believe it for the meaning that we use it for. And you can tell when somebody say it.
Yeah, and then you got the weak-minded people that use it trying to fit in. They think by saying that it's
going
to
allow
corny. Them to fit into it. Yeah, and they look corny doing it. So, yeah, I'm sorry. There are certain people I know, when I hear that word, I know where they're going with it, and, you
can kind of feel it.
Charles.
You get that adrenaline rush.
Charles, do you know what a ridge runner is? Stomp jumper? Hillbilly?
No idea. I know what a hillbilly is.
Redneck? But you hardly hear those words anymore. That's how you get rid of it. They don't call each other. All of those are negative connotations of poor whites that lived in the hills. You had ridge runners, stomp jumpers, rednecks. All of these were living in different parts of Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Virginia, whatever. But they stopped using those words, and they went away.
Still kind of.
They were negative toward the whites. Why can't we do the same? Stop using it.
First off, they never had the power or of the word
they
nigga.
did
None
to
of those
each
words
other. Yes, they did. Back then, yes,
they
did.
They never
if
had.
Bridge Runner was to call a stomp jumper a hillbilly or a redneck, he had a fight coming.
But they was all white, so it don't matter. Like, that's different. That was a word that they give each other about themselves. So
if black people used it, there was a fight on. So why do we allow them to use a word against us?
Well, I'm not talking about them using the word.
I have friends. I have white friends. I have a white friend that I have lunch with 2 to 3 times a month. He's 81 years old, and we sit down and we discuss topics. He reads some of the things I've written. I read some of the things he's written, and we have a good relationship. When I was coming up, one of my best friends was Jules Blayler, a white guy. We fought together side by side. So I don't say, and the person, the female that I guess I care most about in the world is white. She lives in Canada. So I mean, I don't consider myself a racist. I'm more a realist. You know,
well, that's what I always say.
I'm just as hard on young blacks that have never voted and don't vote as I am on anything else, because of all the people and all the blood spent for the right to give you the right to vote, and then you don't use it. You know,
I have no disagreements with that. As far as other cultures using the word to belittle us, other races, or even our own race using the word to belittle us, because it can. I know someone who could say the word who is African American, but the way he is, the way he lives life, how whitewashed he is, it does come off as offensive when he says the word to you. So I can agree there are certain people who can use the word to belittle you, but I don't think there's any issue using the word to empower you or each other either. The word is not going to go away. I don't think the word can go away. I don't think none of those words you brought up have the background, or like you said, the blood on the word as the word nigga does. So with that being said, I think that it's instead of trying to erase the word, just let people know the word. It don't hurt you no more. Like before, I know I've seen a court case where that word was, and it was the person was charged with assault for calling somebody that.
They were fighting words when I was coming up. They were fighting words. If somebody called you that, them was fighting words.
And it still is today, I think too. But I think there's leniency and there's more. I mean, I think today it still is. If I go to work and somebody said that word to me that ain't supposed to be saying that word, we're going to have an issue. But I also, at the same time, if Gene was to say it to me, I wouldn't feel offended by it. I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see it as him being derogatory toward me. I feel like that just means you have formed a friendship or a kinship amongst each other that you can say the word to each other and there's no second thought about it. And I think that when you're in those situations and you're around your friends and everyone's saying the word, it's funny because you don't even think about it. It doesn't hit you in any type of way. It does not even an afterthought. But as soon as you're in a situation where somebody says the word that shouldn't, that word sticks out. You get that adrenaline rush. You feel that juice go through your body. Like you feel it. You know it. And that's why I think the word is still powerful, and take away as much power from it as you can. It's not going nowhere no time soon. There's nothing wrong with the word.
You don't feel that a person respects you less? If I knew you and I never called you a nigga, and this other person knew you just as long and just as well, but he did call you a nigga, you don't feel the one that never called you a nigga holds a little bit more respect for you than the other?
No. And honestly, just looking at my friendships, I would probably think the one who never has may even have less respect for me, be less of a friend. And that might be just the way I grew up. But I mean, you know my best friend. We call each other nigga all the time. We don't have no ill feelings toward each other. But then, like I said, I have another friend who doesn't call me that, and I don't feel as close to him, maybe because he doesn't say those words to me, and he doesn't feel comfortable enough to say that to me. So I think that does make a difference. I think that your friends, your closest friends, should be able to say whatever they want to you, and there shouldn't be no repercussions for it or no ill feelings. Yep.
I think there's a difference. So my friend, when I was coming up, and thank God we didn't have cell phones, but if we did, and I'm out with about 5 or 6 of my male friends, and we're out drinking and just cavorting and having a good time, and one of my woman got a hold to somebody that saw me, and they came up to me and said, "Hey man, your woman's looking for you. She wants you to get home." You know what my friends would do? My friends would have told me, "Man, you better take your behind home. You're not fucking me tonight. You better go home." Whereas today, it seems like, I don't know, the youth would rather say, "Hey man, you henpecked. Man, hang out with us." And you get into trouble, and your home life is jeopardized because you're hanging with a bunch of men instead of taking your butt home because you're not man enough to say, "No, I'm going home. My wife wants me home, or my woman wants me home, or why can't I get home?"
And 9 times out of 10, those guys telling you that are single.
Exactly.
And I agree. I mean, but I think that was something that I dealt with a lot when I was younger. My friends, they kind of, you know what I mean? I don't go out no more. Like, I used to go out all the time. I don't go. I ain't been out in
And
years.
they talk about you now, too.
Me.
Although I tell them I commend you.
They might talk, but they just be joking. They don't really mean.
Oh, no, they don't. They
came over. We messed with each other. We messed with the last. Like I told them. The only bottles I pop these days is Similac. If it ain't got Similac in it, I can't pop that bottle. So, we different nowadays. I grew up. I got 4 kids. I mean, it's different. You know what I mean? I got a lot of different responsibilities, and I don't miss the club that much. I do remember the days when they was like, "Yo, let's just go out." But now, those same friends are the same friends. Like, "Yo, son, I know why you're not going out. I ain't going out no more either." So, I mean, I got one friend who got a ways to go. I got one friend who got a ways to go, but the most part, most of my friends, they all at home. They all got kids. They all chilling. They doing their thing. We might gather up once a couple of months. You know what I mean?
They've grown up.
Yeah, priorities changed up, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, friendships is probably different. I do believe your generation friendships, a lot of people was closer, but at the same time, when you went away, and I had just my group of friends and me, we was like, to this day, we like brothers. Like, something happened during that time period where we might not all talk every day, just like you don't talk to your brothers every day. But when it's time for everybody to come together, we all come together. The core of us that's out there, the ones that was in the house when you left, like we still like a family. And besides them, I do think friendships have changed. Friendships are temporary these days. Most friendships are temporary. All my friendships is 15 years old. All my true friendships, well, maybe not all. I got a couple people out there that's not, but all my friendships is at least
and mine
10 years
are 50
old now.
years old.
I ain't that old yet, thank God. I ain't 50 years old. I'm old, but I ain't that old, G.
There you go.
But yeah,
when you get my age, you still won't have 50-year friends.
No, I will.
No,
I will.
Count it.
I don't need
Count it up. Count it up.
When I get your age, I will, for sure. Because you gotta think about it. Me and my one friend, we done knew each other since he was about 3. I was about 5. You know what I mean? So we done knew each other a long time. We've been close for a while now too. So growing up in Unity Park together and everything. So yeah, we'll be around to get each other for a long time. And I appreciate all my friends. All my friends watching this, you better be watching this because I'm calling you my friend right now. But all my friends watching this, you know what I mean? I love all y'all. And no ill regrets, no false feelings. So y'all might piss me off sometime, but we still friends. Jen, you over there quiet though. How your friendships over? I mean, you got any long years friendships that you consider?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got multiple friends that I've known for 25, 30 years, you know, and we're tight. And we can go long periods of time without talking, and pick up right where we left off. And that's the beauty of friendship, is you've gone through, and I've got friends that have seen the crazy stuff I've done, and I've got one friend that always asks how I'm still alive, and considering some of the crazy things that I've done in my youth, and we laugh about stuff like that. So friendship is important. I did learn the hard way that not everybody is your friend. When I was
Definitely.
19, I had a '76 Cadillac, and you could fit like 50 people in it. And we were out driving around, and we had this guy buy us some alcohol, and I was drinking. Everybody in the car was drinking. Well, my friends, these guys who were supposed to be my friends, start sticking their head out the sunroof, and they were yelling at people. Next thing you know, we get pulled over. I go to jail. It's the only time I've ever been to jail in my life. Spent 2 hours in jail for underage DUI. So here I'm sitting in jail, only one that went to jail. Everybody else got sent home to their parents. And after that, nobody apologized for being stupid. And I'm sitting here telling guys, chill out. We're drinking and we're driving around. But after that, I cut the number of friends I had down a lot after that happened. Because if I'm going to get in trouble, it's going to be because of me. So
Agreed.
I know a lot of people, but there are I would say maybe 5 or 6 people I could say are a friend.
You know what? I'm fortunate. I think I do have a lot of true friends out there that I think we all, when I was about 16, 17 years old, just the environment that we was in. We wasn't in a normal environment. And Dad, you can attest to that. I don't think we was what you would consider a normal environment for a 16-year-old. Even in today's standards, we wasn't in a crazy environment. And I think it made us bond together. Well, we bonded, and it was a bond that's something that a lot of us felt like we all had issues with a parent or both parents, or parents wasn't there, or I had one of my friends, if you remember that, one of my friends' fathers actually asked you could he move in with us because he couldn't take it no more, and we got close after that. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I'm gonna get him on the show. He's been watching, and shout out to him for that. But I'm gonna get him on the show. We're gonna talk. It's gonna be good because we haven't really talked in a while, a couple years now. So friendship is great.
Yeah, I've had friends, and right now it's down to a handful that I'll say are friends after 50 years. Brian Cephas, Dave Rao, Terry Steels, Kenny Hickey. I talk to them, I 2 or 3 times a year at least some. Dave and Brian I talk to a lot more. And my best friend passed away a few years back. He would have been in the 50-year club. In fact, he would have been one of my oldest friends, George Pearson. He was more like a brother, but we had a good understanding, and we were hard on each other. When we had the right to vote, you better believe that one of us went around and made sure all of us voted. When we started having kids, we all went around and made sure you took care of your kids, even if you wasn't with that woman. I have a very special type of friend. And back then, I remember when I was 21 and we got together, and I was trying to name a black person that had not been arrested by the time they were 21. Either arrested or detained for a couple of days, but which they used to do. But I've had a lot of experiences that would have made a lot of people bitter. Would be really bitter. I'm not bitter. I had a good life. I had 8 kids. All of my kids turned out to be pretty decent. I'm on good rapport with both my ex-wives. We can talk civilly, and if we have to. And I have had a good life. I'm retired now, and I'm glad that I worked all the overtime that I did. I wish I had stayed with the company instead of doing some of the things I did, but and I don't want to use that really as an excuse, but it was around the time that I found out this guy was getting more than me that I lowered my standards and started doing some things I shouldn't have been doing, and did them for about 6 months and ended up doing 3 years. But, you know, that's life, and it's taught me a lot. You know, it taught me a whole lot. Taught me that I'm a pretty decent person. When I was in jail even, the warden used to tell me, what are you doing here, Threet? Taking up my tax-paying money. You shouldn't be in here. You know, the COs used to tell me that. The captain of the COs used to tell me that. I said, well, hey, get me out. Get me out.
And that's what I'm not satisfied yet. Call me greedy, call me whatever you want to. I ain't gonna say I'm disappointed where I'm at right now, but I expected more of myself, and I'm not satisfied yet. And as far as like my family, I got 5 sisters, 3 brothers. We all black, ain't none of us in jail, so I can't got no. And I got one crazy brother, but he ain't in jail either. So I got no ill feelings there. I mean, as far as my family's good. You know what I mean? And my kids is good. You know what I mean? So I have no issues there. But personally, I just want to give my kids more. You know, I'm not gonna say I've been on both sides of the coin growing up. There was a time when I felt like I was one of the most spoiled kids in the world. I was going to school in limos every day.
And you were.
And I feel like and then there was a flip side when I'm waking up with rats in my face and going to the hospital because I got a cockroach stuck in my ear. So I've been on both sides of the coin. And I don't want my kids to ever have to see the other side. They kind of in the median right now, but I want them to get to that good life. When I get to that 5 figures a month income or more, I'll be happy. I'll be satisfied. And then hopefully when I get your age, Dad, I'll be able to sit back and say, you know what? From my yacht with my servants, I had a good life. And that's the plan. That's the plan going forward. So it's about that time. Any last words for anybody?
For all the people that out there, especially you young people of all colors, get out and vote.
We gonna
have there you go, man. And please do your homework.
That's what I was gonna say.
Don't get fed what the media is feeding you, man. Get out there and read about who you're voting for. You know, just vote your conscience. Don't vote party lines. Do the right thing, and I wish more people would do that instead of worried about what the other side's doing. They should worry about what they need to do, and that's what we don't have enough of. And folks, if you're mad at somebody, get over it, because life is too short to stay mad. Try loving people, and we need more of that in the world today. We need more positive.
Agree. And quick tip, but don't forget Roseanne is on the ballot this year.
Wow.
Yep. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good night. Peace and God bless. It's been fun like always. See y'all next week.
All right.